Hi, this is Bob from Hobbyconcepts back with part 4 of my Tamiya Volvo FH16 tow truck build. In this part I'm going to build the electric actuator set and install that and finish up the chassis. So tires, wheels, mechanism deck, the rear landing legs and things like that. The truck's very impressive. So far the fit has been fantastic, so let's get started. As I get started on part 4, I'm going to build this actuator set first. And as I mentioned, it replaces these rods here so that you can remotely lift and lower the boom. It works on the same principle as this dump truck, which I thought I'd show because it's exposed. You can just see it's a jack screw with a motor, and the jack screw lifts the dump bed up and down. So this has the motor, and then it has an internal jack screw, and you build this from a kit. So let's open this up and we'll get going on it. Just thought I'd hit the contents of the actuator set real quickly. Gear motor, super nice. Control box. This basically interprets the signal from the MFC to run the motor up and down. Basically it's like a speed control, but one speed in each direction. Those are some gearbox parts. Those are aluminum. Micro switches, so those are the up and down stop switches for the boom. 3-position center loaded switch. I'm assuming that's so you can operate it from the truck. Jack screw in the housing. I'm assuming this fits together somehow like this. Has a cap. These are all metal. Couple connectors. A Y connector for the battery, because this will probably draw power just like a speed control would. And then assorted small parts or some gears. Really cool little ball bearing. It's a plate ball bearing, so it's designed to support a load that way. And then a set of stickers for the wiring. So I'll go ahead and build this thing. First thing is installing the spindle shaft. So there's a bearing carrier that drops on here, and then this gear, which has got a bunch of indentations around the outside, and then this little C-clip clips on down inside. So I'm going to do that, then I'll come back. Don't want to fight with it on video. Now, this is really cool. Okay, so this is an overload clutch, and what we've got are some little balls. You can pick one up. You can see it, and the balls drop in here, and then this drops over the top of them. And what it does is now it allows this to, there's a little spring-loaded arm in here. So if you get too much load, it'll jump across the balls without breaking the gear. That is really kind of a tricky design. So I've got to drop 4 little balls in there and then put another clip on the top. So go ahead and do that. So you're thinking, how do you line up these 4 little balls in 4 opposite sides so you can get this thing dropped in? And here's an old trick. Well, you don't want to lose these things. Is I'll use a tiny bit of grease. In the locations I want the balls in. And it's a little more grease than I wanted. Oh yeah, you don't want to lose these babies. And we'll just stick it in here with the grease. Put 4 in there. And the grease will hold them in position while I drop this in. So I'm going to add the rest of them and put this together. I bolted the motor to this plate and mounted a gear on it. Nothing exciting there. There's our finished clutch assembly. and then those just drop into this housing. Now this one has this bearing, which is a thrust bearing, which is a bearing this direction, because this will be our screw shaft that drives the ram up and down. So these just need to be greased up good before they're put in. And that just drops in there like that. And this whole assembly just fits together like this. Very precision parts. Okay, and then a couple screws and I'll put Loctite on those and bolt that together. On this cylinder, there's a plastic cap that sits on here, and then this snap ring goes on. New kind of snap ring for Tamiya. I have not seen this before. This is a snap ring where you actually open it up to put it on. You can see with my snap ring pliers, you can see how that opens up, and then it just drops into place and clips on. If you don't have a pair of snap ring pliers, you're going to be fighting that baby a little bit. Those make it easy. Now you just grease up this shaft, screw this on, and according to the directions, we leave 25 millimeters when it's done. The next part is putting this outer shaft on, and it just drops into this housing. 4 screws hold it, and then it just slides all the way down. Bolts here. We've got to grease this shaft up, so I'll assemble that. The final part, this plastic ring drops in here. See, I've got it all greased up, and then this cap screws on. And that completes our assembly. This little clip right here didn't come out of this kit, came out of the truck kit, and that just clips on the motor to hold that wiring in place. So all the next steps show disassembling the truck, the finished truck, to install this. Since our truck is not finished, the micro switches and some of these other parts won't be installed until a little bit later, but we can go ahead and put this in. Well, this shouldn't be too difficult. I already pulled the body clips from one side of these. So those just come out, and then this unit just fits in here. Motor down. And that goes through that side. So I've got the bottom mounted. The top mounts in this hole right here, and there's actually a spacer built into it that narrows down so this barely fits up in there, so there's no wobble back and forth. So I'm going to lay this on the side and then fit this up in there and drop the pin through. Okay, there's our actuator in place. We'll go back to the kit instructions and go from there. Well, the next step now in the standard instructions is step G. So I've got my G bag, and I've got this this tree right here, which I've already painted with semi-flat black. So this assembles the rear landing legs. I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to cut out all these parts. The landing legs build up really nicely. This part fits in here, and you can see that it's got a slot in it. There's a little retainer that drops in to hold it. The feet just mount on with a snap pin, and then the back goes on. they're really pretty straightforward building. It's just like building a small model of a landing leg. When it's done, the leg moves in and out. The tension is adjustable with these two screws right here. The feet rotate. This, boy, there's a lot of possibilities to add more features to this model remotely. Future project. Okay, so that takes care of this, of the landing leg build. I'll finish up this other side and then I'll go ahead and mount them. The final step with the completed landing legs is to install them. And Tamiya has already had the back bumper mounted with these 8mm screws, and the instructions tell you to remove those and then use 10mm screws to mount this, and it mounts right into the back bumper mount. And it takes two 10mm screws to put that in. So there's our rear landing legs, all mounted up, and obviously some more body mounts. Next step is the tires. We have the front tire and the rear tire. You can see the front tire is quite a bit wider. They just pull over the wheels pretty easy. And there's one side that does not have a Tamiya label and one side that does. So you can decide ahead of time whether you want to have the Tamiya label showing or not. I elected to have them plain, and then a tiny drop of CA glue on each side here, just to keep the tire on. Just one little drop, and those are ready to go. Now on the front tires, they give you this trim ring and tell you that it's optional and you can glue it on if you want. So I'm going to leave that off for now. The rear tires, same thing. Tamiya logo is only on one side, so the shiny chrome part goes out. These tires are the same as, and wheels are the same as all the other Tamiya trucks. So nothing exciting here. Again, a couple drops of glue. And then the rears just fit together like this. There's alignment pins. And then they bolt together with these bolts and make an assembly. Get those on the truck. I like putting tires and wheels on because it makes such a dramatic change in the appearance of the chassis. So the hex adapter goes on, nut goes on. I'm not going to show a lot of this, but I do want to make one comment, and I want to continue to stress this point. So the front wheels use a bearing, and Tamiya gives you these bronze bushings, and these just frankly don't belong on your truck. Okay, here's my bag of unused bushings from some of the kits I build. Sealed ball bearings. You're going to have a lot of money in your Tamiya truck no matter what truck you build, and it deserves ball bearings. So those mount in here. Another ball bearing goes in from the front. And then our 5mm lug nut goes on. So remember guys, ball bearings, every Tamiya kit. Everything else you can add later. If you want to add lights later, it's easy. If you want to add, change the motor later, it's pretty easy. You want to add sound later, it's pretty easy. But adding ball bearings later is almost impossible because you have to disassemble everything. Okay, I'll get the rest of those mounted up. And there's all our wheels mounted. This is looking pretty impressive. Just a couple quick shots of it here. Okay, a couple more little things I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to mount the cab floor up here, and then we'll come to an end. So I'll go ahead and do that. The cab deck again is pretty straightforward. Front fender's just mounted in here. I've already painted these with X18 semi-flat black. Boy, I tell you what, I have gone through a lot of semi-flat black on the airbrush, so it takes quite a bit of paint to do all these parts. And then this front body mount just mounts up on the front here, and that's the base of our forward deck. After mounting the fenders, couple small parts, this bracket right here, these two pieces, and this exhaust part mount on here, and then this just drops over like that and bolts down with some of the little shorty screws. I already put some thread lock on the threads in the frame, so we'll go ahead and screw that down. You can see I also painted the seat bases. They mount to the cab floor, and then the cab floor mounts to the mechanism deck. We're just about done with this part, which I'll call the finishing the chassis. That bolts on here like that. And then I want to do one more thing. Final step I'm going to do in this video is mount this little plate right here. And what this plate does, let's put a screw in it here real quick. Is provide a mount for the Tamiya multifunction control unit, which is this baby right here. It's going to mount to the back side of that, which is nice. It still leaves room for our cab interior. So that's where I'm going to leave this video today. I'll clean up my bench and we'll get a few shots of the chassis. Well, there's basically would be the finished chassis. Got the mechanism deck on, all my tires and wheels are mounted, booms mounted. The thing is very impressive, very heavy. So far everything has fit perfect, everything's gone together great. So now in the next video, I am going to go through the good old Tamiya multifunction control unit setup and programming. And I'm going to use this DX6e radio. I'm going to show you how to program the radio, how to hook this up so that everything functions, and you can pretty much use any modern computer radio. We'll talk about that. This is the multifunction control unit box. And so pretty much the whole next video will concentrate just on that. Again, thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my videos. Check the video description for links and other information. And then take a look at the Facebook page, Tamiya Truck Open Studio. There's a link in the description. And we've got approaching 800 members on there. That's pretty nice. You get a lot more building tips, and you can share pictures. So there we go. We'll be back in a little bit with the next part.